Hey everybody, I'm here today with my friend Ryan. We're out on his homestead here, and what we're doing is we are going to be showing you how to make a simple trellis system. And what kind of plants are these, Ryan?
So these are wineberries. We just found them on the property, really. So they're very similar to raspberries. They're a little smaller, maybe a little seedier, but very sweet. Great for jams, preserves, that kind of thing, but also just fresh eating. But we knew that they were going to go great because they were already growing all over the property, and it's just been a pain to get to. So we dug some up and planted some across the row here, created a row last year. We should have done a trellis at that point, but we're playing catch up now and kind of pushing things together to trellis it up so it's a little easier to pick and keeps it together better.
And sometimes things like this that are considered to be invasive species end up being the greatest things to grow because they just grow on their own.
Sure,
It doesn't take a lot of work. They'll do their own thing for you.
Don't need to spray it. Don't worry about diseases so much. It's just in a month or two we'll have some great berries for picking.
Awesome. Now, I want to show you real quick. You literally need a few simple tools. You need a kind of a drill so you can drill through. Some kind of pliers would be handy. A pounder, a stake pounder, is beneficial. It can be good to have a mallet, not a necessity, but you got this, that'll probably do the trick. Probably a tape measure would do, and this is some of the wire that's going to help hold it all together. And the one other thing you need is something like a hacksaw. Now, he has here something like, I don't know the name of it. It's like a chop saw, but it can cut through metal.
For metal, yes.
Okay, it's just basically a chop saw for metal. But a simple hacksaw, we even said it probably wouldn't take much longer, even with a simple hacksaw, but it's always nice to have the power tool. So we're going to show you how we do it here.
First, we already have our row set up because we planted everything already, but ideally you would do this even before planting or at the same time. So get your row set up, and driving the T-post was really the first thing, once you have all the supplies together, of course. So we have 3/4 inch conduit is what we are using for this. And with that, you're probably good to go 8-10 feet or so. If you were using 1/2 inch, probably wouldn't want to stretch it much more than 8 feet. And that's for the long sections there, just because it's going to start bowing quite a bit. And so driving the T-post, what I ended up doing here was putting them about 10 feet apart, 9.5, 10 feet. And then the smaller section is about 2 feet. So we're creating a rectangular box basically for them instead of just one long row, and this will just give it that much more strength and help hold it together but still allow some sunlight in.
Okay, well, let's get to it.
So first we're basically just going to drive the T-post in the ground. So we've got a T-post driver that we're using here to just drive them in. You want to give them in at least a good foot, if not more. There's the spot on the base that you want to make sure that that's completely down into the ground. Make sure they're nice and solid. Once you get that up, of course, ballpark, you can use a level to make sure you're really square with the world and whatnot. But we're going to get the first 4 set up to begin with, really. So we drive those, and then we're going to use the conduit that we have. So we have got this 3/4 inch conduit. They come in 10-foot lengths. So it's easier, at least I'm finding it's easier to just go ahead and drive the T-post rather than trying to make the T-post perfectly 10 feet apart, maybe bring in a little bit, and then we'll cut the conduit to exactly the right size.
One quick thought, for those of you who are not familiar, the conduit here is metal, just to let you know. This is not some kind of plastic tubing. Sure. These are actual metal tubes called conduit, so just to give you an idea there.
Once we have the T-post driven, we cut the long piece of the conduit the right length. The T-post, a little different than a U-post, the T-post is going to have 3 edges that you can kind of connect into. And the idea is make a groove in that conduit so that it'll slide onto the edge there and help support it from moving too much. Once we have that all kind of snugged up together there, we still need to secure it to it, and that's where drilling a hole and then sliding the wire and tying it together is going to help keep it from moving too much. Certainly as you get the 2 sides and then the smaller pieces joined together, it's going to be that much stronger. We've opted to do 2 layers just to give some lower branches an opportunity to kind of come out that way, and then higher up you could do more, you could just do 1. Depends on what you're trellising and what the needs of that particular plant are.
One of the great things Ryan happens to have here is a nice tractor that he can actually push it in, and this help kind of stabilize them while you're working on it. You may not have that, so a better time to do it might be if you don't have a tractor in place. I mean, you could get some wood And,
Sure.
you know, use some wood to push it so you're not getting all cut up by it. That's an option, or even just the pipes themselves. But it's, you know, you're more prone to get kind of stuck in there a little bit. But pushing it with a tractor was a great idea. That held them all up, and this is going to keep them basically much more in place instead of just sprawling out low along the ground, because at that point it's hard to pick them, right?
Sure, and you can see what it looked like before at the area that we haven't quite done yet. It works fine, it's going to grow great berries, but when it comes time to picking, you have to go in. All of these have thorns on them. This is not a thornless berry, so you're trying to rummage through all these thorns to get it. So this will hopefully help keep it cleaner, nicer, easier for the kids, and of course myself to pick.
For sure, for sure. Another thing is you don't have to necessarily end with the first one. You can keep on going. You can make this basically as long as you want. You can just add another roughly 10-foot section, just a little bit less if you're kind of spacing it. But every 10 feet you can have another bar. You can place another one in, and this can just go on basically perpetually at that point. And so it just makes it easier as you go along.
Sure, and of course you're more than welcome to use wire or doing something metal like this. There's lots of way to trellis things. What we've done in the past with wiring for our raspberries and whatnot, we find that it starts sagging a lot, and so you need to get devices basically to tighten it and fasten it. But then you also have to worry about your post starting to lean in a little bit. So this is just we found a simple but fairly cheap way with just, I mean, a T-post is $3-4. The Conduit is similar to that too, and so it's not going to come in or out too much. It's going to stay solid and not get that drooping and whatnot. So it's just a really solid trellis.
And that's the great thing about it, is to have something that you don't feel like, well, next year we're going to have to start over with it.
Right.
It's something that's just very, very stable. So Ryan, thank you so much
Absolutely.
for spending time and showing us how to do this. And if you like this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notifications. God bless and have a fantastic day.